Yeah, hi friends. So in the last session we have discussed about creating a table in database. So today's session we will try to understand how we can insert data in a table. Okay. So let's take one simple example of this. Okay, let's start from here. Suppose I have created this table employee, and in this table employee I have column employee ID, first name, last name, and this primary key. Okay, so for the timing, I'm just keeping this not null. I'm removing this. So when setting the data, I will let you know that what is the significance of this not null and null. Okay, so suppose I'm trying to, and let's try to remove this as well. Concept of this primary key. We'll discuss what all these things are after some time. So just I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. Okay, fine. So this is the table, very simple table I'm trying to create here. So let's run this in a database. Okay, so here what I'm trying to do is from this small piece of code, I'm trying to create a table employee. In that table, I have column as employee ID, first name and last name, and these all are data types. So we'll discuss data type in the next session. And guys, I have mentioned the syntax of creating table in my previous video. So those who have not seen that, please you can refer to the previous video if you want to understand how we can create a table in depth. Okay. So table has been created, and let's check if it has been created or not. So the DSC is the command to check if the table has been created or not. You have to write DSC and the table name. Here the table name which I have created is employee, and that's why I've written DSC employee. DSC stands for describe. So I'm asking database SQL engine to describe the employee table. Okay, so it has given me this output. So let's try to understand this output. It means the column employee ID, first name and last name has been added in this table employee, and these all are the data types. Okay, so it means table has been created successfully. Now let's try to insert data into this. Okay, I'll take this format, and from this we will manipulate this as per our requirement. Okay, so I'm trying to insert, you see this insert is a reserved keyword. I'm trying to insert into employee. So moment you will write insert, so you are telling to SQL engine that you want to insert something. Where you want to insert, then you have to tell that I want to insert into employee. So the database or the SQL engine will understand that the user wants to insert some data into this employee table. Okay. And after that, you have to mention the column names. So in our case, the column names are employee ID, first name and last name. That's why I will remove this part. Date of birth and salary is not there. So you can see I have just included employee ID, right? And then first name and then last name. So if you see this small piece of code from here onwards, so what this means is I'm telling the SQL engine that insert into employee means you have to insert some data into this employee table, which is having employee ID, first name, last name as the columns, right? Then I'm telling to my SQL engine that these all are the values which you have to insert. Okay. So what values you have to insert? You have to insert 4. 4 means this all are the respective values. If I have written 4 for the first time, it means this 4 is related to this employee ID. First name is Tanveer. Last name is Khan. Like that you can add. Okay. And this all things not required, so I will delete this part. Okay. So let's try to run this in database and let's check the data has been inserted or not. Okay. So this is the query I'm trying to run in the database. Insert into employee. I'm trying to insert some data into this employee table, and the employee ID, first name, last name. These all are the columns, and the values are 4. 4 means this 4 corresponds to employee ID. Then it corresponds to first name. Khan corresponds to the last name. Okay, so let's try to run this. Okay, I got a response from SQL engine that the one row created. It means it has created one row. But let's try to verify whether the row has been created or not. So for that, we have syntax select a star from employee. So whenever you want to see whether data has been inserted in your table or not, then you have to use this command select a star from. So it means you are telling to a SQL engine that select what select? Select a star. The star means everything. Select everything from employee means select everything from this employee table. Okay, let's try to run this. Okay, so it has given me employee ID is 4, right? I have inserted employee ID as 4. So employee ID 4 is coming here. First name Tanvir. So first name Tanvir is present here. Last name was Khan. Last name Khan is present here, right? So like this, guys, we can insert data in any table. Suppose you want to insert one more row. I want to insert one more row. So in the same, and this time maybe the ID is 1, and the name maybe the name is Amit, and last name is Kumar. Okay, now let's try to run this. Okay, again, the SQL engine is telling that one row created. Now, if you have to validate whether the row has been created or not, or the data which you have passed, one Amit Kumar is present in the table or not. So let's the same thing you have to do. You have to write select a star from the table name. Okay, so select a star from employee. Okay, now you can see the previous record which we have inserted is 4th and Khan. This is coming here, 4th and Khan. And then the new record which we have inserted ID as 1 is coming here, ID as 1. And the first name Amit Kumar is coming here. So like this way, you can insert n number of data in your table. Okay. So this was a very simple scenario we have seen that when we want to insert any data in a table, we can insert data in this way. Okay. Now let's try to do some modifications into this. Okay. So this was a very simple scenario, very straightforward scenario we have done. So now what I will try to do is I will change this structure of table and then we'll see some more variations of this. So drop table, I'm removing this table from database. So for that you have to use this drop command. We'll discuss about this command maybe in the next sessions. So job table employee, I have removed that employee table from the database because now I want to do some modifications into that. Okay. Now let's see if the table has been dropped or not. So I'm writing select a star from employee. So it is telling that table of view does not exist. This means the table has been deleted. You can see this error message, error at line 1. At line 1, it means table of view does not exist. It means the table has been removed from database. Now let's try to understand this in another. Do some tricky part in this. Okay. First of all, let's try to understand the concept of primary key. Okay, I have taken the same table again. So just I'm adding this statement on top of this. Okay, let's try to understand what this primary key is all about. Primary key is something which will not be duplicated in a database. Primary key is something which should not be duplicated. It should not repeat again and again in your database. That is known as primary key. As for example, in our colleges or schools, we have roll number or student ID that is unique for everyone. That we don't have duplicate value for that. Or you can tell like employee ID in the companies that is always unique. So we can tell those things are primary key, like our Aadhaar number that is unique for every Indian citizen. So that is again unique, right? So those things are known as primary key. Okay, so now I have made employee ID as a primary key. This first column I have made it as a primary key. You can make any column as a primary key, depends on your page. Okay, so now let's try to run this query. Okay, so it is telling that table has been created. Table has been created. So what new modification I have done here is I have added employee ID as a primary key. Now let's try to check if the table has been created or not. So I'm making it describe employee. Okay, employee ID, first name, last name. I've added these three columns: employee ID, first name, last name. It is coming here employee ID, first name, and last name, right? I have made employee ID as primary key. So employee ID primary key, but new change you can see here it is coming not null. But in the previous case, this was not coming. When I have created last time, this was not coming. In this scenario, when I have taken employee ID as primary key, so I'm getting an additional column here which is not null. So why this is coming, let's try to understand. The rule is whenever you're making any column as a primary key, that should not be null. Means there must be some value present in that column. Okay, there must be some value present in their column. As for example, in a school, each and every restaurant they have a student ID. Is it possible that a student is not having any student ID? That's not possible. Similarly, in a company, every employee is having some employee ID. It's not possible that a particular employee will not be having any employee ID. Similarly, if I have made any column as a primary key, then that column must be having some values. So that is why it is giving that not null. You cannot insert null. You cannot keep it as a blank. Okay, hope this is clear. Okay, so now let's try to insert data into this table, same table. So I will use the same syntax here. Okay, let's try to run the same thing I'm trying to add here. I'm running this one, right? So it is saying that one row has been created. Select the star from employee. We will validate that the data has been present or not. So one Amit Kapoor data is present. Okay. So now let's try to understand what is the significance of this employee ID not null here. Okay. So now we will try to insert a new record here. And what I will do this time I will take name. Let's change the name Abdul Khan. Okay, and let's remove this as let's keep it blank. Let's keep it blank and let's see how it's going to happen here. What's going to happen here this time? Okay, I'm trying to insert this. So it's saying cannot insert null into this. Why? Because you have inserted null into the first column, employee ID, right? I have inserted null into the employee ID, and that's why we cannot add into the. So that's why you're getting this error message that you cannot insert null into this table. So I think hope this is clear to you all, right? Because this time we have tried to insert null. If you see here, we have inserted null here. This is the employee ID column. And we have made this as a primary key that this should not be null. But we have inserted null value here, right? And that's why we got error message that you cannot insert null into this employee ID. Why? Because you have made this employee ID as a primary key. And if any column is a primary key, then that should not be null. You must have some value for that, and that's why we are getting this error message. So this from this we understood that if any column is a primary key, like here we have made primary key this, so in that case you cannot insert null into that value, and we have understood that with the help of this example. So that's all guys from today's session. Hope you will if you have understood all the things. If you need any clarification you can comment me on that. Okay, thank you, thanks a lot, bye.